talking about information governance and automation. And I think it's a really important topic these days because look, for the last 20 years or so, the pervading focus of enterprise content management has really been on things like maintaining regulatory compliance, reducing costs, making processes more efficient. But more recently, a new paradigm in information management has emerged that goes beyond those traditional concerns of risk and cost to include things like organizational performance, competitive advantage, and customer experience. And these new imperatives speak to a convergence of changing customer expectations and maturing digital technology, and the needs for organizations to increase their resilience during these disruptive times. In fact, our research here at AIIM reveals that records, governance, and information management professionals that embrace the convergence of traditional ECM technologies with AI-powered automation are twice as likely to gain executive stakeholder support for their efforts. So that's what we're going to be exploring in today's webinar. We'll look at the evolution of core technologies of ECM and then examine some real customer stories that demonstrate how the convergence of new capabilities is being used in both the public and private sector. We'll hear how technologies like AI and machine learning, robotic process automation are all increasing business benefits for organizations, the impact and advantages that these capabilities will have on compliance and customer experience, and how governance and information professionals can take advantage of these capabilities right now. So with that, I'd like to introduce our guest expert today, Lauren Mays. Lauren is the program director for content services for IBM. And Lauren is a systems architect and technologist with deep experience in enterprise content management and business process management. She oversees product management for IBM's entire suite of content management solutions, including FileNet Content Manager, Enterprise Records, DataCap, Content Manager on Demand, among others. So we're really pleased to have Lauren with us today. Lauren, welcome to the event today. Are you with me? Hello, Lauren. Welcome aboard.
I am here. Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you so much. Well, all right, here to talk about information governance and automation and the convergence. Please tell us more.
All right. Okay, so I assume you all can see my screen. Let me put it in presentation mode. Okay, thank you so much, Kevin.
Thank you, Lauren.
So you may ask, we're talking about convergence and what technology are we really talking about here? And so AIIM calls this intelligent information management. Gartner talks about this space as hyperautomation. And at IBM, we call this intelligent automation. And in the past few years, we've seen, a convergence of technologies and tools to add more capabilities to applications, to be able to digitize and automate your business processes, to host them on cloud or on premises, or both, to add AI and machine learning, and also to enable more people to create these applications through no-code and low-code tooling. And it is a huge sea change, but it does mean that you and we are able to better help businesses become more agile, more customer-focused, and more effective. And a big part of that, or that we see, is that this involves humans and machines, computers, working more effectively together. And so, the benefit that we see behind intelligent automation is reflected here in this research from IDC that shows that intelligent automation can help you reclaim up to 50% of your time to focus on, what matters most. And so, oftentimes we do talk about automation in terms of cost savings or a way to accelerate turnaround times and better engage with customers. But we see another benefit, and frankly, is that we all spend too much time doing mundane, repetitive tasks instead of the work that brings value to the organization. And we believe that's where this really will bring value. And so we wanted to start this just to kind of bridge what the enterprise content management space with the intelligent automation space. And to do that, we'll talk a little bit about convergence. We have a couple of little examples here of convergence kind of outside of our space. There's the classic example of H.B. Reese combining chocolate and peanut butter. Again, this was combining two things that already existed in a way that is innovative and that really, brings new value. And in this case, something that is still wildly popular today. For some other examples, we have things like the space program. And in the early days of the space program, NASA understood you couldn't send anyone into space, without first bringing together the data from all the computers, sensors, tracking systems, onboard computers, microphones, et cetera. And critically, though it's not shown in this picture, all the people into one place. And so this is a convergence that we call mission control, which really resulted in some ability to in our smartphones. Today my smartphone is my camera, my nav system, email, messaging, health tracker, music player, calendar, all those things. And I do sometimes also use it as a telephone still. But to get back to our industry and what we're talking about in terms of convergence, I'll give you a short history lesson to those who may not be familiar with this space. But 30 years ago, with the rise of client computing, we saw the emergence of OCR-enabled capture systems in document imaging. We saw workflow in business process management. We saw business rules to help codify the different kind of decisions that needed to be made. And of course, we saw content management, ways to how do you collect and gather all this information. And at first, there were many point solutions. And then organizations were combining these solutions to build out applications. And 20 years ago, AIIM and the large analyst firms came up with a category name, Enterprise Content Management. And this really gave focus and a narrative to our industry. More customers started building applications that combined capture, content, workflow, and governance to provide the right content to the right people at the right time, and to help reduce costs, engage customers better, and govern the content that was being generated. And from our point of view, as a global ECM vendor, this was a really exciting time. We saw ECM systems powering a huge variety of use cases, everything from onboarding to core business operations like loan origination, insurance claims, order processing. We saw it used in payments, invoice payments, bill payments, accounts receivable. We saw it used in data updates and governance, such as beneficiary updates or security access change, or even just simple things like name changes. Also, many applications around issue resolution. And then, of course, document approval, requests and approvals for either documents or other updates that you might need to do, such as engineering change orders. And so this was a great time, lots of really great application, but convergence continues as it always does. And IBM has been working for the last, I don't know, 5 years or so on the Intelligent Automation platform. And this platform allows you to do all the things you would do in an ECM system, but you have more. You have the capture and AI-powered document processing that helps you capture, classify, and extract information from your documents. There's content services. So this is based on the core FileNet offerings. This allows you to store, manage the content, get documents from all sorts of different sources, such as email and other applications. It also includes the records management capabilities that allow you to determine how long you need to keep that content and how you can ensure that you can find it. It also includes the workflow capabilities. So this is complete, workflow or business process management, including case management as well. And then there's decision management. So this is how, can you make decisions for things such as risk assessments and continually change those decisions based upon things that change out in the world. But beyond that, it also includes some newer capabilities. So there's robotic process automation. How can you create bots to help you? That's especially helpful in doing things like integrating with legacy systems that may not have APIs. There's process mining and modeling. So this enables you to identify and map the processes in your organization where optimization and automation could be needed. And then there's also operational intelligence. This provides a way to understand what's happening across the platform, what workflows are running, what cases are completed, what content is being uploaded into your environment, and allows business users to look at dashboards of that content or those workflows to understand what's happening and to get insights on how you might improve. And then this is all built on core foundational components and also provided our client and partner solutions that use these capabilities to implement specific business requirements. Also included our low-code tooling that allows you to expand the number of people in your organization who can bring these technologies together to solve your business problems. Okay, so so we have this platform, and you may look at it and say, well, that's a lot of stuff. How can I consume all this? And so while it is a very comprehensive platform, you have a lot of flexibility. First, you have flexibility in which of the services you choose to use. Many customers will start off using things like capturing content, just getting hold of your content, understanding it, getting it in your system. And then you might add things like RPA to integrate with your existing applications. So again, you can choose the services that you want to use. And the second part of that is you pay for only what you use. So while you have all these capabilities available to you, you purchase units of capacity. And so you can use anything within the platform with those units that you've purchased without having to purchase new products. So the second aspect of flexibility that I wanted to cover is how you deploy it. So we still have many customers who want to be able to manage and deploy these systems themselves. And so you can deploy them in your own data center. You can deploy them in a public cloud or your own private cloud, or as many clients do, you can deploy it in a mix where you have some applications that might be running in your own data centers and others that you are in the process of moving to public cloud. In addition to deploying the software yourself, we also provide a SaaS option. And so this is where IBM will deploy and manage these services, and then you would use those. So we take care of the deployment, the upgrades, and then you take care of using the services to customize them according to your business needs. And so we believe that this platform approach is very important. And yes, you could pull these things together yourselves, or you could pull these things together from many disparate sources. And in many cases, customers do. They still might only use some of the capabilities that we have. But we do believe that piecing together solutions that aren't pre-integrated has a lot of obstacles. Anybody who's done that will tell you, and it can be very challenging to integrate these different subsystems, especially when they're managed by different vendors. But in addition, we believe that a platform really helps you be more effective, and that to take more effective actions, business users need to have key insights, into what's happening. You need to be able to surface those insights, and that requires having shared data and shared content. And then finally, you need that in order to have the shared data, it requires that you're digitizing your systems and processes so that you can collect that data. All right, so just to give you a little bit of a flavor of what this would look like in a typical, let's just do a client onboarding scenario. So this could be applied to many different industries. A typical set of steps would be you need to, capture information about the client who wants to, let's say, open a new account. This may involve, intelligent capture where you're ingesting documents from the client. It may involve some workflow to retrieve relevant information from other systems. And it may also involve decisions to determine, what kind of service fees might be applicable, or maybe there's additional services that would be helpful for this customer and different packages of services that could be offered to them. Next, a common step would be you need to, have a process of reviewing all this documentation, ensuring that you have all the correct content, storing and managing it into your content management system. And then finally, there's typically some sort of workflow involved. So you have a workflow that orchestrates kind of the entire process. You may need to capture and collect additional information and documents. Again, you may need to use decisions in order to assess risk and determine if this is a client that you would want to onboard. And you may integrate with existing systems with RPA, robotic process automation. And finally, there's typically a workflow that goes through the approval status notification after you've gone through the process of approving or denying this new client. So again, that's just a generic example. And what I want to go through next are 3 examples of specific client use cases. So we'll start off with the Veterans Benefit Administration. So the VBA processes over 7 million claims a year for veterans. This correspondence comes in from all sorts of different channels. It comes in from the veterans themselves or service members or family members. And in 2019, the VBA initiated a program to basically reduce wait times for the veterans. And we'll walk through what that looked like. So this just shows how, basically what the process looks like and how they use the automation platform in order to implement this. So The claims and correspondence are digitized by a service bureau. This information would then go into a centralized portal as digital images. They created an RPA bot to pull items from the portal and send the items to the appropriate systems that could be used to capture information, based upon the type of document, whether or not it's structured or unstructured. So they use multiple OCR systems to do that. In addition, as part of this process, the documents would be stored and managed into a content management system. And then machine learning comes into play here as it improves and continually expands the use cases and what types of documents you can recognize and pull data from. And then workflow came into play in terms of orchestrating the approval processes. And RPA again was used to interact with various existing systems, and basically to determine if the claim is valid, if there's anything that's not in good working order, and to handle any exception handling as well. And then, finally at the end of this, it would get updated into their existing system that they had for interacting with clients. And so, the results of this this effort, where they were able to fully process 63% of all the incoming mail was processed automatically, so it didn't require human intervention. This resulted in their turnaround times going from days to hours. It also resulted in more information being readily accessible to analysts to better understand what's happening with the process and to understand where the bottlenecks might be. It freed up over 1,000 VBA employees to go do more important work than just data entry. And now the VBA has future projects underway to continue making improvements. This illustrates a key tenet of our recommended approach with these platforms is you go in, you integrate with your existing systems, you target specific areas of improvement, and then you iterate. You can keep going and keep improving on that. And so, one of the things that VBA is looking at now is being able to, avoid repetitive input of data that may already be available in the system. So that's one example. The next example I want to show you is for a company that was really looking to automate their processes, kind of across their organization. And this is BlueShore Financial Systems. They are headquartered in British Columbia, Canada, and they provide personal and business banking for over 40,000 clients. And they take a very personalized approach to working with clients. It's a very high touch kind of approach. And their challenge, was to automate these tasks and processes. They wanted to be able to free up their client-facing staff to have more time for, one-on-one and building relationships with those clients. And so this application was built and deployed by one of our business partners, VersaFile. And so, with VersaFile, BlueShore was engaged in a digitization process. It started off with capture, content services, and workflow to ensure that they were digitizing and knew what customer content they had so that it's readily available to everyone in the organization. They broadened this initiative to also automate their business processes and apply rules as well, and integrate integrate to existing systems with with RPA bots. And, through this, they were able to automate many of their smaller processes, and it really contributed to efficiency and higher productivity across the org. And so where they stand today is that these new intelligent automation capabilities, did achieve their goals. It's really freed up their employees to help focus on building those deeper relationships with clients. They were doing all this through the pandemic, so this really did smooth their transition to remote work, as you could imagine, by having all the information digitized and available to the employees. It had the efficiency gains that they had hoped for. They were able to increase their lending volume by 250% without adding employees. Their retirement saving plan loans used to take, a week or 6 weeks, and they were able to process those overnight. And another key element that they were able to achieve here is auditing. So as these processes are executed, all the information about what's happening is audited. And so this helps them do two things. One, reduce human errors, and also comply with legal standards or governance standards. And most importantly, they did a survey and found that 81% of their clients reported that BlueShore improved their financial well-being. This is compared to an industry-wide survey, which was showing a 63% improvements. So again, really great results there. The last example I want to show you came up as part of a Build-A-Bot challenge. So IBM, at the end of last year, hosted a Build-A-Bot challenge for anyone, IBMers, partners, customers, to build out automation capabilities. We were focused on bots, but our partner, IBM partner Prolifics, really took it past that and really demonstrated how you can build out capabilities on this intelligent automation platform. And they did this with something they called IntelliDocs. And it was aimed at the prior authorization process for healthcare. And so prior authorization, this is all about the process that occurs between healthcare providers and payers, right? So the healthcare provider needs to get authorization that the payer, the insurance companies, will cover the cost of the medical procedures. And this, based upon research in the field, this is a very expensive and manual process, costing $10 to $25 per request, $10 to $25 per request in the U.S. Huge costs across the U.S. healthcare system, and much of that work is very manual. You can see by the purple here shown in this slide, with 87% of those requests either submitted partially and requiring manual intervention. And of course, the delays in this type of thing can have, consequences, right? So these long wait times can impact the quality of care, and cause patients to be dissatisfied, and in some cases, with certain conditions requiring very rapid treatment, this can be a big problem. And so what Prolifics did is they looked at the typical prior authorization process. And so we'll walk through that first. So what would typically happen is the provider would fax in the request to the payer. And this could be in the form of a fax, or there may be online forms that would be filled in and or uploaded. And then an authorization specialist would look at those forms. They might need to do manual data entry of some additional forms. They maybe need to look into other systems to understand what information may be required. And then after that information was collected, a medical expert would be given the information. There's a workflow for that expert to go, look at the information. They may approve it if it's straightforward and clear that it's covered, or they may ask for more information, in which case this process would start again. They may need to send this to a committee for peer review by other experts, physicians and medical experts, who then might approve it or deny it, in which case there may be a appeals process as well. And so when Prolifics looked at this, the area we've circled here was the area where they saw a lot of opportunity for improvements. This is where most of the labor, time, and rework was occurring. And so what they did was target, again, as I mentioned earlier, it's not about rebuilding your whole system, it's about targeting those specific areas for improvement. So they built an RPA bot to help pull authorization information from that portal. They did similar to what the VA did. They used capture systems to automatically extract, classify documents and extract data. And they also created another bot that would pull that information and input it into the workflow that was involved for the medical expert to review. So basically taking that manual process and automating it. They also built out a chat bot to provide status updates. So this is something that the healthcare provider could use to check on updates. So it had a voice recognition system for escalating approvals as well. And so again, they built this system out. Oh yeah, and so here again is this part of the process pretty much stayed the same. And Prolifics has estimated how, based upon the work that they did, they've estimated approximately 4 times ROI. That includes deployment of the services as well, software licenses, as well as the integration work that would be needed. They're estimating about 8-day faster decision processes and 35% fewer write-offs for surprise billing due to mistakes and incorrect assessments. They are currently out, working with various customers on, building this out within specific organizations. Okay, so those are the 3 examples. Just want to, sum up that, what we're seeing is that these are the types of technologies that our customers are starting to use and deploy. Again, it's an evolution from enterprise content management. There's a lot of similarities in what we did with enterprise content management. It's just extended with these additional capabilities. And to really be competitive, this is where you need to make these. We are seeing that clients are really improving and empowering their people to really do more, by combining these human talents with these enhanced productivity tools, can improve decision making, but also, as we mentioned earlier, really free up time for these people to, focus on what matters most. And through, digitization, integration, and workflow, you can drive growth in your business. And finally, you can observe, analyze, understand how your systems are working to continuously improve. So IBM has automation expertise across industries. We have over 14,000 automation practitioners between ourselves as well as our partners. We have a large research staff who is working on these products. We have many clients who are using these products and an ever-growing number of things like bots and scripts and automations that are deployed out in the world. We are a recognized leader by analysts. I won't go through all these here, but what you'll see is a lot of analysts are looking at this market, and IBM is actively participating and doing quite well. So for next steps, I really recommend that you go. We have a lot more information on those three solutions that I talked to you about. We have these links here that you can go check out. And that's what I had for you today. Kevin, I think you were going to take over next.
Thank you, Lauren. That is Lauren Mays, Program Director for Content Services for IBM. Let's take this opportunity with Lauren. Let's open up the floor for some questions from our attendees today. What are your questions about some of the examples that Lauren has given? Maybe share with us some of your successes or your challenges, and we can put them forth to see if Lauren can give us some advice. So now is our opportunity to do so. Please feel free to enter your questions into the chat feature, and we'll do our best to get them into the discussion here as we bring the session to a close. But Lauren, it seems like IBM is offering a big and complex and expensive automation platform. What if I want to just start small and grow?
Good question. I accidentally muted myself. Yeah, so while there are many capabilities, we've very much focused on allowing you to use the capabilities you need. We have a set of services where you can choose to use those services that you would desire to use. So for example, some customers may have standardized on other workflow vendors. You don't have to use the workflow capability. So the pricing model is capacity based. You buy basically units, and then you can apply those units to whatever components or capabilities you want to provide them to. The other thing is that it's really, we absolutely believe that it's important to start small and to start from where you're at. Again, not a rip and replace solution. You really do want to go, extend what you currently have.
Now, as I mentioned earlier, we often focus on the risk and cost side of information management. And you talked about the VA going from days to hours and reducing headcount, and BlueShore, I think, reduced labor and time and rework. But on the other side of the coin, what's one way that you feel organization can be successful using intelligent automation to improve things directly in the areas of like customer experience and organizational performance, and not just cost or risk?
Right. Yeah, I think the key thing there is really about freeing up people in your organization. People are a very limited resource. And in many of these scenarios, you really need better touch points with. I think BlueShore was a perfect example of this. Their focus is on customer experience, and being able to have their client-facing folks do less administration sort of tasks really helps. And so in my view, and in IBM's view, that's really the key. It's how do you automate more or help people to find what they need more. I mean, I don't know about you. I've been in content management for years, and it's still hard to find documents sometimes.
Always.
Yeah.
All right.
So,
well, we are getting some questions in from the audience today. Bill is asking about your examples. Were those examples using FileNet Content Manager or IBM Content Manager?
good question. They're the same thing, but well, they're not the same thing. So you're talking about
Okay.
IBM Content Manager. Okay. So the Cloud Pak for Business Automation is using FileNet Content Manager as the core set of services. So that's what's part of the Cloud Pak.
Okay.
Now, that doesn't mean you can't use those services, that are in the Cloud Pak. Let's say RPA, for an example, with IBM Content Manager. You can do that.
And Mason is asking, how about information governance function that IBM automation system provides? I guess he's asking about what are the baked in IG functions?
Okay, yeah. For information governance, a lot of that is around a couple of areas. We have capabilities in content. At one end, it might just be about ensuring that your content is stored in a safe place, that you can ensure that it won't get deleted, before it should get deleted. And so that's kind of the most basic capabilities. Then we have full records management capabilities where you may build out complete file plans of classification systems and very complex disposition schedules, as well as disposition processes that clearly document, when you do delete documents, what is the process that you go through, and that's all audited. The other aspect of it is as you're executing workflows and processing, you can track that information, and so use that as evidence in your governance processes.
We are with Lauren Mays with IBM talking about content management and automation. Now is the time to put forth any questions you might have or comments that you might have for Lauren. We do have a few minutes left. We'd like to get to some of those questions. Lauren, earlier you were talking about the utilization of RPA, or robotic process automation, to provide a connectivity with legacy systems because there's no API available. Do you have an example of how that might work, or a use case, or a quick example of how that works and some of the benefits behind that?
Sure. Yeah. So the goal there is all about, again, not ripping and replacing, but instead going and using what you have, integrating with what's available to you. So in the VBA example, the bot would essentially go. It uses a technology where it can go look at a program that may be running on a window, and it can go pull information. It can press buttons for you, right? And that whole process is really it's like automating, let's say, a program that you have running on a client workstation. And then the other really key thing about that is that you can have your business users help define what they do, right? So you go through a process whereby the business user who's normally running that program would go and say, well, this is what I usually click, and they can help build out that bot.
Lauren, I want to get back to maybe a little bit. I was talking earlier about a new paradigm, perhaps, in enterprise content management, one that is including a broader scope. And indeed, Gartner just recently announced that they're discontinuing their Magic Quadrant for content service platforms. What do you think about that? Do you think it's because ECM has been eclipsed by intelligent automation? What's your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, my take is that content services are alive and kicking and very important, right? We have thousands and thousands of customers for whom this is a key critical component, but it's just not enough, right? It's just a piece of the puzzle. And, overall, the goal is digitizing your content, being able to find it, but also being able to activate it and use it and have it really improve your overall processes. So that's why I think that the transition, or I would say the consumption of, ECM within the broader automation, is really where things are going.
You mentioned the many ways to deploy the platform, but can you talk about the managed service option in a little bit more in detail before we have to go? How does it work, and how does the licensing work?
Good question. Yeah. So managed services is really all about IBM will install and manage the software. So we install it for you, we manage it, we upgrade it, but you have access to all the features and capabilities. We have a similar model in terms of licensing for this as a service capability, and that is we call it flex points, but you basically buy a unit of points. You can still apply those to the various capabilities of the platform.
That is Lauren Mays, Program Director for Content Services for IBM. Find out more at ibm.com. Lauren, thank you so much for being with us on our event today. I think at this point, I'm going to turn it back over to Nina to close us out. And I know, Nina, we have some news about AIM Plus. What's going on?
Absolutely, Kevin. Let me just add, this was a great presentation by Lauren. Thank you. So AIM Plus does offer more resources and helpful information like the presentation you just showed today. It offers information professionals a robust collection of educational content and enables you to foster personal and professional connections with a buzzing community. We offer the freedom to experience all of AIM's training for as long as you need it. Monthly or annual subscriptions are available now. So go check it out at aim.org/AIM Plus to sign up, and we will drop the link in the chat feature now. So we want to give a big thank you as we bring this webinar to a close, and just to say some last minute reminders. We've been recording this webinar, so you can catch anything you want to hear again in a recap email that will be sent in a couple of hours. A link to the resources for this webinar was put in the chat. You'll find a copy of this presentation as well as additional resources through that link. Don't forget also to take our feedback survey and let us know how we did. I would like to ask Lauren at this time if she has any closing remarks for our audience or any last minute comments.
Yes, thank you. I really appreciate AIM offering us to present this webinar. And if folks have any questions, please reach out to the links we're providing, and we'll be happy to provide more information.
Awesome. And what about you, Kevin? Any last minute closing remarks?
Well, thanks, Nina. I'll just go back to what I said earlier. A new paradigm is kind of emerging in our industry, one that goes beyond our traditional focus on cost and process and risk to include things that really have moved the needle, if you will, in terms of organizational performance, customer experience. And so now is the time to look at both sides of that equation as we examine how automation can be applied to information governance in ways that really matter.
Absolutely. And again, a big thank you to our underwriter, IBM. Without support from our solution providers, we won't be able to bring you free educational programs like our webinar. Thanks everyone for joining us today. This is Nina from AIM saying see you next time. Take care, everyone.